Come on. 2, 3.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN Weekly for Saturday, May 14th, 2022. It's been another great week of shows with great topics and great contributors. We kicked off the week with a look at how to give your kids the get up and go lifestyle. Let's take a look.
Well, I think, just seeing kids growing up myself and thinking back to even when I was a child, I mean, we would be outside all day, right? You go out in the morning, then your mom calls you in late at night. And now I think technology, gaming, all of that has become so much more prevalent, especially coming out of the pandemic, right? Where we have virtual schooling, you have the social distancing, kids were learning a little bit more on their laptops and IT. And so our mission really is to get kids outside and active. We're using running as the tool to do that. And it's great because healthy kids, you can have no background in running whatsoever, right? You could just be like, hey, I want to try it out. But it's a safe environment for us to teach these kids of how fun it can be to be outside and active. And it doesn't matter if you're good at it or if you're not good at it, it's just out. And you have the mental health aspect of how, beneficial it is to be outside in the fresh air with some sun, being around people, looking at nature, listening to the sounds that are outside. So, we love it when kids come to Healthy Kids and they're outside and it changes their life. One of the things that we're really trying to do is to get into communities that, have children that their families are not able to be a part of our, program, right? Where we want to really dig into inner city and offer this to families. And the foundation was gracious enough to partner with us to help us to get some programs going. And the one specifically for us that we're working towards is Baltimore. And, we don't want a child to ever not have the opportunity to be a part of Healthy Kids. And so together with their foundation, we're going to be able to offer programming, to any child that wants it within that community. So it's interesting, we have a lot of different components to Healthy Kids programming wise, where, we even have a challenger division for our children that may have, be in a wheelchair or they need assistance with walking. So we want every child to feel comfortable when they're a part of Healthy Kids. So the best way to do this, obviously, we spread word of mouth for Healthy Kids. A child and their family can just walk up on race day, or they can go to our website. They click on the Find a Race tab. They find their state, their city, and they can register that way too. So registration never closes for Healthy Kids. We never want to turn a child or a family away. So that is one of the best parts. So we actually have an interactive guide that a child gets within their registration, which there's their stretching videos and, how to run the proper form. We also had a partnership with Run Doyen, and they provided training videos for our longer distance runners. So the partnership with them, they actually created videos that live on our website, and registrants can go and look at those videos and practice leading up to race day. So that is really for our quarter mile runners and up. But when it comes to our little guys, it's all about us just, cheering them on, creating that environment where they're just excited to be a part of it. And, we all, just encourage each other. And moms and dads, there's a mom and dad race too. So a little bit of role reversal at the end, but there's no experience needed. We provide some tools for the families, to get educated about what race day is and what to look forward to and what that expectation is on the actual event day.
We also discussed balancing sharing employee data with maintaining privacy. Let's take a look.
Well, I think when we're talking about data sharing, and is that what we're focusing on right now, data sharing?
Yes.
Yeah. I think when we're talking about data sharing, first you sort of need to figure out the landscape of who is implicated in the data sharing and in what capacity. Because, I'm an ERISA attorney. So the first thing I need to figure out is, does ERISA apply to the use of the data? And if so, in what capacity do different vendors have possibly duties under ERISA? So I'm always trying to figure out, how does this data relate to the different parties that want to use it?
So, I mean, I think Liz is asking a lot of the right questions. And in terms of when I think about contracts or I think about what's going on, it's important to recognize we're in an unsettled landscape with respect to data. Europe acted first. We have California with CCPA and now CPRA. And in terms of what do you want to have in your contract, what do you want to share with your vendors, what do you want them sharing? I think it's important to think that, one, it's important you're able to provide benefits. So, your vendors are going to ask for access to information. And if you say no, no way, no how, you're going to put them in an awkward spot. On the other hand, if you don't understand how that data is being used, then, how do you make responsible decisions? So, right now, it's a little bit of fluidity in terms of what you do and how you contract with vendors. But, when I was testifying in California last week on their CPRA regs, one thing that was highlighted is the need to, future-proof the law so that, innovative new benefits like student loan repayment don't end up outside the scope or don't end up, falling by the wayside as folks try to, limit the use or conform with, perceived use of data.
First of all, I know we're talking about privacy, but privacy dovetails with cybersecurity. And our primary regulator, the Department of Labor, recently came out with a whole set of cybersecurity guidance. And so right away, that's making it top of mind for both vendors and plan sponsors, plans. Privacy is sort of a different animal, but it is also top of mind, one, because as Kevin mentioned, we have a bunch of activity in a number of different legal regimes teeing up privacy issues. We also have litigation already in the ERISA space regarding privacy and data usage, and questions regarding whether plan sponsors have a responsibility to be proactive in protecting the privacy of their employee/participants' data. So yes, absolutely, this is a top of mind issue.
I think there's a lot more alignment on cybersecurity where, participants, plan sponsors, plan fiduciaries, and vendors all like to think that more secure data is better. On the topic of privacy, I think there's kind of some incoherence at the moment where participants want and expect innovative new benefits. But on the other hand, if you ask them in the abstract, do they want more privacy? They generally say they want more privacy. So I think that's an area where, privacy in terms of what service providers do, what plan sponsors do, and what participants want, I think there's some, dissonance. I don't want you to know my student loan balance, Jeff, as my employer, but if you offered to repay some of my student loans, or if you were considering designing a program that was going to do that, you would need that information. So I may want that program to be in place while at the same time being uncomfortable, much like I may not want you to know where I live if I leave the company, but I still want to get my pension check. Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally sure that the Department of Labor really is the primary regulator of data or even a primary regulator of data. If I look at, data use, I see that the Federal Trade Commission is very active and that, Congress is considering giving it expanded powers there. If I look at Gramm-Leach-Bliley, which is an existing privacy law, you see that the SEC and OCC and, even the Federal Reserve has some oversight functions there. So I think we need to be mindful that, in our benefits world, we like to think of the Department of Labor as the be all and end all. But on the privacy front, they regulate pensions. I'm not sure if they really regulate, personhood and identity.
Yeah, so I would say that the DOL is the arbiter within a very narrow realm of sort of fiduciary protection with respect to these issues. So, maybe another legal regime is primary, but as a fiduciary, do you have any sort of duty to understand that legal regime or how you interface with it? I think Kevin does a very nice job of identifying some of the other potential regimes. And I would agree with him, once you go beyond ERISA's fiduciary duties, the DOL is not the primary or the be all end all. Here's what I would note. Preemption is going to have to sort some of this out, because preemption in ERISA, the concept that ERISA trumps other legal regimes when you're talking about the disbursement of benefits. I think there are some legal questions that need to be sorted out to determine sort of what legal regimes are primary.
Well, we're halfway through. When we come back, we'll take a look at the other half of our best segments for the week. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN Weekly. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. There's a lot going on for fiduciaries when it comes to regulation, legislation, and litigation. We took a look at the state of the fiduciary in 2022. Let's take a look.
I think we're continuing to see a lot of regulatory pressure pushing towards new fiduciary standards, whether that's with retirement plans, with IRA rollovers. We're seeing a lot of continued effort at the federal level to enact those things. If they don't do it, we've seen evidence the states are going to take it on. One of the things that I have seen, Jeffrey, in the last several years is that beyond the regulatory pressures, we're seeing a lot more awareness from plan sponsors and end investors of the difference between fiduciary and non-fiduciary advising. So we're seeing as much market force drive changes in the industry as we are the regulation.
Yeah, I think John did a great job of laying that out. And I think it's an evolution. So I agree with him. And really what is so interesting is that as this process continues to move forward, the opportunity for tools and insights around rollovers and other solution sets, our clients are really coming to us and saying, hey, listen, we know that you have this great history on the FI 360 side, and we really are concerned that how can we best be in a position to serve our clients? We want to comply. And that's led us to an evolutionary tool called our Decision Optimizer. And I'm going to ping pong it back to John to talk about PT 2020 and where that fits in on the fiduciary side, because he's done such a great job with that.
Sure. So PTE 2020-02 went into effect on February 16th of last year. And then there were some delays with certain implementations. Part of it went into effect on February 1st. The remainder is going into effect, the client communication bit, on July 1st of this year. And it's essentially making just about anyone that does IRA rollovers a fiduciary and subject to this prohibitive transaction exemption. So it's raising the bar. The Department of Labor wants to make sure that when rollovers are taking place, that they are in the best interest of those plan participants. And there's a lot of communication and documentation and also retrospective reviews at the home office level that are required associated with that change. So we're seeing a whole new group of individuals become subject to these fiduciary requirements. So it's bringing a completely new client base to Broadridge and FI 360.
No worries, the data and insights that our clients are looking for around this. So it's not just the tools, so there's the fiduciary aspect of it, but then it's also, let me know as you see trends across the rollovers and across our book, how we can best adopt from a compliance standpoint. So it's very unique in that it's an opportunity for our advisors that currently work with us, new clients on an enterprise level, to be able to see the data across their IRA rollovers, which really hasn't occurred before. So think of it more as the intel inside, not just the tool itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point, Jeffrey. And what we're seeing too is this convergence of retirement and wealth advising. So the advisors that we support, a lot of them historically, they focused just on the plan side. They didn't deal with individual participants a lot in terms of giving them individual advice. But now we're seeing the retirement plan advisors actually mind those plans in a very surgical, thoughtful way to identify those individuals that could benefit from more personalized advice. So having the details on what constitutes a good prospect to do a rollover, what other help and financial wellness can be provided to those participants is another big trend that we're following. So it's really kind of converging the compliance requirements and everything along with business development opportunities. So doing the right thing for your end clients and differentiating yourself as a result.
Yeah, I think John's insights are spot on. There's always been a concern about leakage, but more importantly, there's a concern about doing the right thing for the client. And this tool really allows them to do that and give them the opportunity to have a business development discussion, but be able to show that if there is leakage, and look, there may be, but this is, the reason why, and that we're engaging in a conversation with a very different group of potential clients. I think that's really important when we think about 401k plans and Main Street versus hyper. A lot of firms are trying to, scale down and make that client acquisition at this level. And it's an opportunity for them to utilize that and to do it in the right way. And one thing I really want to have come across is it's because FI360 is such a trusted partner in the industry. And we did the acquisition with that in mind in 2019, that it gives us such a unique lens for asset managers and our clients to know that FI360 is neutral, and they can provide the analytics and tools like this to help a fiduciary, because that's our history. Our history is to be there to provide that without the proprietary focus or being in the room as a record keeper. And that's really where a lot of our best ideas come from, because of that history.
Yeah, and there have been products out there, Jeffrey, for almost 20 years now that I'm familiar with. Back in 2005 or so, I recall Genworth coming out with a lifetime income solution. And there have certainly been several others that have followed since then. But there have been challenges with those products getting the shelf space within plans that you would expect based on the demand. So we're very excited about this consortium. Cindy and I have discussed it for over a year, and she put me into contact with lots of her friends and connections in the industry, and several others that started with us have done that as well too. There's a common interest in helping individuals retire with more security than they are today. And the lack of defined benefit plans, the lack of purchasing power with Social Security, and the longevity that we're seeing now with folks is all creating challenges with having income well into your later years. So we've got a great group of asset managers and insurers that are focused on educating advisors, educating plan sponsors, and then developing a due diligence methodology that will allow these options to be considered very similar to how a QDIA is considered today. So we want to demystify lifetime income. In addition to the asset managers and the insurers that are with us, the American Retirement Association is also a member of the consortium. They're developing a certificate training program for advisors. So the alignment with the ARA and FI360 and Broadridge, I think, is tremendous in terms of just leveling the playing field with how to evaluate and monitor these options.
And look, inflation today. I mean, if you're retired, and my parents are, and you're thinking about, gas is $6 a gallon, I think it's not just lifetime income. They live in California, but that, do I have enough money when I'm retired? So these questions are even more relevant every day. And what's great about the consortium, and John referenced, friends and industry contacts. I know we're going to talk about the conference. Many of them will be there, but the key factor was, once again, can you help us? We need an objective resource to be able to take this data, to be able to find a way to deliver it, to create action, right? Yeah. And so you have to have the ability to have the credibility that FI360 has, but then how do we actually get people to engage in not thinking this is just cover up for an annuity? And not that an annuity is a bad thing, but we do have a number of open architecture partners that are looking for ways to deliver solutions. And, I'm excited to go down that journey with John.
And finally, we discussed how to stay in control of your career at 50 plus, or quite frankly, at any age. Let's take a look.
Oh, Jeff, thanks so much. I'm really excited about this book because what I did is I looked and really dug down beneath the covers a bit to see what are the major trends that sort of have come up through the pandemic. What is emerging as our new workplace? And let me tell you, these are fundamental, really fundamental changes that have impacted our workplace today and in the future. So I looked at the 5 major trends, and we can dig into each of them, but very quickly, it's remote work, it's contract work, entrepreneurship, a rise in education and opportunities for lifelong learning and the necessity for that. And the 5th one is career transition, which is something that is just really, and all of these categories, Jeff, can be applied to all age groups. It's just at this age, we are particularly vulnerable. And I think it's very important to pay attention so that we can really own our careers, own our working lives and our personal lives, and take control. Going forward, hybrid work is going to be a model. It's going to be some in the office, some out of the office, but there are plenty of purely remote virtual jobs that we can have. And it doesn't mean working from home. It's working from any place. It's having that flexibility. And it also opens up the job market to work for employers that aren't in your hometown, that are, many, many miles away from you. So I think the whole universe opens up to us for job possibilities. But the things I truly love about remote work for workers over 50 is that, Jeff, it goes a long way in fighting ageism. Because, and you and I have talked about that in the show in the past, it's a very pervasive thing in our culture and in our workplace. When you work remotely, you're not judged as much on your cover as you are when you're side by side with somebody several decades younger than you. It's subtle, but employers hire, your managers and so forth. They don't have that direct sort of visual comparison, and you are judged and scored on your performance and your productivity. And that's what really matters. So I think that's essentially, it's a really essential plus of remote work. The second piece is a lot of people say they're going to work longer. They're going to work well past 65, but a lot of them actually retire earlier than that. And it's usually, or often I should say, because of a health reason. Now, when you work remotely, it opens up this idea that you can work if you have a mobility issue of some sort, when you don't have that commute to an office, or your workplace isn't retrofitted to work for whatever your disability or your issue might be. Man, it just, wow, if you can work remotely, it opens up again the possibilities to continue to work longer. The multi-generational workplace is here to stay. And in fact, Jeff, it is a reality because we do not have a growing workforce. We have the population, as a demographer would look at it, we don't have as many younger people coming up, right? So employers have to pay attention. It is no longer a pyramid where you had a lot of older workers and younger workers and older workers. It's now a column. And so they need to pay attention that older workers, they need them in the workplace. They need to retain them. And the younger ones, they absorb so much, like you said, knowledge from the two. But one thing I love to think about is colleague who, someone I really admire, Mark Friedman, who started Encore.org, he often says the fountain of youth is the fountain with youth. So for somebody who's a little more experienced, the opportunity to work with someone younger is so energizing. And I do believe it's a two-way street. I always freelanced on the side when I was in-house with companies. And I think moving forward, contract work is often the name of the game. Employers figured out during the pandemic that they could bring a lot of people on, really experienced, talented people, and not have to pay benefits, right? Bring you in for projects, short term. So there's a good and a bad to that, because if you need benefits and so forth, if you're kind of under 65 and still want that employer provided medical care, perhaps, or employer provided retirement plan, yeah, that might not be the best thing, but moving forward, I think it opens the door for all kinds of having control of your work life and building that work-life balance and saying, working, doing things that fit your mission. I want to do more of this. Let me do this. I'm going to plug in here and really make a difference in the world by choosing your work. And this comes to being financially stable and financially secure. So that's a big piece of it that you and I also talk about quite a bit. But that if it depends on your financial situation, but if you can make it work with contract positions, it can be very, very positive for your managing your own work life.
Well, certainly great segments. I want to thank all of our wonderful contributors this week. And that wraps up this episode of BRN Weekly. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Well, of course, visit our website and check out our streaming partners like Amazon, Roku, Samsung. You've got over 100 to choose from. We're back again tomorrow for BRN Sunday. I'll be joined by members of the media, academia, and financial services as we analyze all the news and events for the week. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.